Moment is here. The moment is here. The special guest. Welcome to the table for some NHL free agency talk. Deadline was free agency started today, not deadline. Sam
David
Reedy
Scott.
needs no
Yep.
introduction.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Welcome to be here. Nice
How?
little, nice little
Oh,
Capri Sun action, John.
dude, I just choked on the Capri Sun. I just choked on it on air.
Saw
I
those
was gonna ask.
this weekend. I definitely stole one.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me know.
Yep.
So I guess right off the bat,
Today was exciting.
you did what?
I said today was exciting. I had nothing to do at work, so at 11:58 I logged on and we were live.
That's nice, dude.
All NHL for me. I didn't care about basketball. At some point I saw who got traded. D'Angelo Russell. Didn't care.
Well, there you go, dude. What's been your biggest impression so far from the free agency?
I think guys are getting overpaid, but I think that's just the market this year. Started out with Kevin Hayes in Philly, signing for $7 million a year. That seems like a lot. Matt Duchene today got I think 8. That's a pretty good for him, but I mean, giving Bobrovsky $10 million a year for 7 years it seems like a little bit of a commitment. I don't know if it's going to work out. I mean, for the first few years, obviously it's Bobrovsky, Vezina winner, um, basically in the conversation for goalie of the year for the past 4 or 5 years. But is he going to do that? We've seen goalies do this where they play really well and they get their big ticket, and next thing you know, they're not the goalie they used to be. It happened with Luongo. It happened with Matt Murray in Pittsburgh. Tough to get a goalie for 7 years. Add on top of it that if he starts to not like where he's at in 3 years, if he doesn't like Florida anymore, he's going to complain. He's going to bitch just like he did in Columbus. So a lot of guys getting overpaid. I know Aho is getting underpaid right now,
Mm-hmm.
$80 million a year. The guy's a stud in Carolina. The Canes are definitely matching that offer sheet. Um, General consensus after today, guys are getting paid a lot of money.
Right, and it's crazy. It's like nothing compared to the NBA, but
So it's nothing.
it's
Yeah, I mean, you're giving guys $6 million a year. NBA guys are getting $6 million every free throw.
right. Absolutely, yeah. A couple more goalies. The Islanders got Varlamov and
Yep.
Robin Lehner's going to Chicago.
So, yeah, I don't get that one because they got Corey Crawford. I guess he's been hurt for a little bit in the past few years, but Robin Leonard almost won. You know, he was in talks for the Vezina last year, so kind of tough to sign a goalie there and expect him to be the backup. Not sure if that's the plan. Crawford's gone. I don't know what they're going for there, but yeah, that one was surprising. It's only what, a year or two.
That's a great question.
I think I saw 2 years.
I got the notice when I was driving home, so I'm honestly I'm not 100% sure on that one, but yeah, that one was a little bit surprising to me. But hey, I don't make those calls. There's a reason I'm not in the draft. I'm not in the draft room and the GM room.
The biggest, Chad, you might have been heading this direction. The biggest free agent, Panarin, goes to the Rangers. So at least one New York franchise decided to make a splash, other than Brooklyn, if you want to count them. But at least the Rangers did something the Knicks didn't do.
What, sign anybody worth anything?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was surprised. I know that the past few weeks he's been linked to the Rangers. I don't really get it. You would think that he's going to go somewhere where they're almost guaranteed a playoff spot. The Rangers were second to last in their division last year. There's a reason they got the number 2 pick in this year's draft to get Capo Caco. Maybe that's why he wanted to play with the guy. Um, what was it? I think he had 7 years also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna pay me $80 million or something like that, 81.
I think it's the second highest AAV in the NHL.
Highest paid winger. I mean, if you're gonna pay me that much money and live in New York, I really don't care if I win or not because I'm living. But if you want to win a cup, I'm not going to New York for 7 years personally. But again, that's why I don't make those calls. So interested to see how that one plays out. But yeah, Chad, like you said, I mean, second highest AAV behind I think only John Tavares maybe. Um, who's basically the only free agent from last year, who's making splashes in this year. I thought that was interesting for sure. But good for the Rangers. They're definitely on the come up. Hopefully, well, not hopefully, because I'm obviously a Philly fan, so I don't want the Rangers to ever do anything good. So a little disappointed when that came out this morning, but oh well. They're still wasting away Henrik Lundqvist. So
Any under the radar signings that you liked around the NHL?
I did, yeah. So another Metropolitan Division rival for me, but a huge signing that's really kind of going unnoticed is Wayne Simmons to New Jersey. The dude is a stud. He is gonna. I mean, when you watch him play, he doesn't always put up the most points in a season. I don't think he's ever. I think he scored more than 30 goals, maybe 2 or 3 seasons. But he is a guy you want on your team and a guy you don't want on the other team. He just gets in there. He gets deep down in the forward zone, forechecks hard, and when you guys have the puck going to the net, he is a big motherfucker and is not easy to get out of the way. So
His
for only $5 million, I think is a steal. Obviously, it's 1 year, so it's more of a are you going to get hurt? Can we trust you to go a couple years? That was probably the biggest signing I think of today. Well, not the biggest, but the most under the table, but most beneficial throughout the whole day.
Wayne Simmons is just a presence. If you had to rank players, if you had to rank the attribute just presence of players in the league, Wayne Simmons is going to be consistently at the top.
He's at the top, exactly.
So I think the Stars made a couple of big plays. They got Pavelski and Corey Perry. Corey Perry, a buy low contract, low risk, definitely could be rewarding. So I like the Stars and what they did to bolster the offensive firepower.
John, what did you think? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, John, what did you think the moves the Sabres have made?
I mean, have they really done anything impactful?
They trade
traded
for
Vesey
and
like
Colin Miller.
Colin Miller, yeah, from Vegas. I mean, they've done small things, nothing exciting.
Yeah,
I saw a tweet today that they might really shake it up with an offer sheet, but I don't know. I guess that didn't happen, or probably.
I was hoping they'd put an offer sheet in for either Aho or Mitch Marner, but when somebody signs Mitch Marner, they're going to be paying almost 12. I mean, he might contest up there with Panarin money for some reason. I mean, he's great. Don't get me wrong, but he's a little young to give that kind of money to. I want to see him take a bridge deal for a couple years, and then make it one of those team-friendly contracts where in a couple years you get a player option or a team option, and you can kind of lock him up once you know he's going to be good for a while.
I think the offer sheet to Aho is definitely the most interesting move of the free agency so far.
Offer sheets are the most fun, dude. It's almost like, so basically the Canadians said, I'm going to give this guy more money than he's worth, and either I'm going to fuck you over or I'm just going to deal with it. So which it sounds like they will. I don't know if you saw their tweet. A little low blow to the Canadians there, right?
They put up a poll.
Put up a poll. One answer is like, will we match the offer sheet? One said yes, one said we. So we'll fuck you to the French Canadians up there.
Yeah,
love it.
That's awesome. Right? But yeah, the Canadians kind of fucked them in 2 spots. I'm reading about this right now. A ton of bonuses are in the first year of the deal if they do match.
You'd be making $700,000, so it really doesn't come off that much in the cap. It's all bonus money.
Yeah, and then the other way was it's only a 5-year deal, so Carolina definitely would have wanted a longer deal for him.
Yep.
So
yep. I saw something where they wanted a lot. They wanted something like 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
You have your own RFA, you're allowed to give him 8 years, sort of like the Supermax in basketball. If you've got the rights to him, you can do 5 years, like the Hornets should have done with Kemba Walker. But that's Kemba Walker. That's another story I don't want to get into right now. But you can get that 8th year, which is what the Blue Jackets wanted to do with Panarin. Obviously, there was no chance Panarin was staying. Also, real quick, the Blue Jackets are a mess right now. they're a mess. They traded all their assets. They traded all their picks to get Panarin, Dzingel. Who else? They have Bobrovsky and then Matthew Shane. All four of them are leaving.
That's tough.
Here, they came up short, and everyone said, "Fuck you, I'm out of here."
Good. My roommates are Jackets fans, so that's good.
I have nothing against them, but that's nice for you because you've got plenty of ammunition here.
Yeah. Well, being a Sabres fan it doesn't really help the case, but
yeah. But at least you can now join. They can now join you in the cellar.
Sure.
Although,
yeah.
you know what? I say that now. I'm a Flyers fan, so I'm there with you.
So what? Let's shift gears to the draft a little bit.
Okay.
I'm curious of all the first round picks, or however you want to look at it. How many guys that were drafted this year will be on an opening day NHL roster?
Definitely two. So you've got Jack Hughes and the Devils going to be on right away. Kako is going to be on right away. They've already said he would. Really, the only other guy that I think has a chance would be Cole Caulfield in Montreal, only because they don't have the kind of scoring depth that you really need to compete, and they're kind of at the point now where you're basically win or lose. So they're going to go for it, and they're going to give this kid. I think they should. He's the best scorer in the draft. They're definitely going to give him a chance to go out and get some experience. Sometimes with those kids, you send them back to the OHL or the NCAA, and they just dominate, and it's not even fun for them. And then they get up to the NHL and they expect to do well, they don't, and then next thing you know, you've got guys like Nolan Patrick for the Flyers who just started out right away and played a year juniors, and then not really much from them production wise. So not often that you see guys straight out of unless they're top 5 pick. Caulfield obviously was 15, but he slid. Not sure, probably because he's 5'9" and 160 pounds, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely exaggerated those numbers a little bit, but you know what I mean. He's a small dude, but this is changing in the NHL. I mean, you've got guys like Marty St. Louis and Danny Briere kind of set the tone, and then some other guys more recent like Alex DeBrincat with Chicago who come in and real small dudes and just kind of beat it up and get in, get after, and put up points. So,
what do you think of the Sabres pick of Dylan Cousins for us Sabres fans here, and then the listeners who are Sabres fans?
Got a great player. I was watching his highlight tapes. Really wanted the Flyers to pick him. Went with a ginger dude that I've never heard of. Really wanted Dylan Cousins. The dude can score. After Caulfield, he's easily the second best scorer in the draft, but he's also actually, as I look him up, look at that. A thumb injury at development camp. That's a real shame. You hate to.
Yeah, I saw it. He like landed funny after a hit, and his thumb was literally like inside the other side of his hand.
That's
it was
great.
real bad.
I went to shake somebody's hand last night in the post men's league game lineup, and he grabbed my thumb, and it's a little sore today. If I was him,
weird.
I'd be playing. I don't want to call him out for anything, but
He'll be all right.
But no, he's a player. Definitely a player. You guys got a good one. He won't be up. He'll be another guy who's a year or two away. But then once he gets there, I think he's going to do fine.
I love the NFL or the NHL draft setup. Like the guys don't have to play right away. They can go to college. They can go back to college or whatever. The NBA needs to do something like that, honestly.
Right, where you can draft a guy. Imagine the hype in the NBA if Zion Williamson could still be a Pelican but go back and play another year.
Yeah.
If you have like half the Knicks.
And then just like make the NBA draft bigger, and then guys who like maybe wouldn't go. Like I'm thinking of Perry Dozier from South Carolina. He shouldn't have gone a year early. He should have stayed in school another year. I ended up going on draft. Now he's just bouncing around like G League to G League team.
Or even like let them be able to get drafted out of high school. So last year's draft, Zion could have went in the top 5, but he still had to go to Duke for a year.
Yeah.
Right. And then is he so like in baseball, can he say, no, I don't want to sign with you, I'll wait till next year? Or is it like, yeah, I'll sign a contract because then you've got the NCAA who's obviously going to kind of
I
prohibit happening and saying, well, you signed your professional contract, you're not playing for us, go play in the G League or play in Australia.
yeah, you
Dude, so what?
can't. Go ahead.
And then I would make that like the MLB, where the player has X amount of time to sign the rookie
Yep.
contract. Um, but if he doesn't sign, they get a comp pick the next year in like the same slot.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
your perfect draft.
Too bad the NCAA would never let that happen.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
no,
I think
makes
we
too much
should
sense.
have,
It would be too good.
just solved the one and done problem. No, I'm
Yeah, absolutely.
so
So let's talk briefly. We mentioned him, Jack Hughes. Is he as legit as people are saying? Is he the next Matthews
I don't want to
type?
call him next Matthews because I don't think he's got the hands that Matthews does, nor the wrist shot. But man, first of all, he can fly. I've never seen him look down at the ice. I watched him a little bit playing for US the World Junior Championships earlier this year. Every time he had the puck, his head is up. He makes the right play. Passing it. I mean, he had more assists than goals, I think. And the guys on his line would. I mean, some of the guys weren't great, but they ended up. I mean, he's almost Sidney Crosby more than Austin Matthews. And then he makes the other guys on his line. Like you've got Carl Hagelin now signing 4 years for $6 or $7 million a year. He's not really worth that money, but he played with Sidney Crosby long enough that he put up the points and got the production. You're going to see a lot of that with the guys who played with Jack Hughes, similar to Jack Eichel in Buffalo. Just makes Jeff Skinner scored his goals because Jack Eichel. Let's be real.
Hmm.
Jack
So
Hughes, he finds you. You just need to have your stick on the ice, and you need to be in a spot to. You just don't stand in the corner of the ice, and you'll be fine with Jack Hughes. He's gonna find you. He's gonna find ways to get you the puck. He's unbelievable. He's so fast. He's so smart. He is, yes. I think he's going to be, barring injuries, he's going to be all that he's lived up to. Even his brother Quinn is going to be a stud for Vancouver. I think he went 3 last year. Um,
he came up at the end of the year, I believe.
yeah, and he scored. I think he scored a goal, I know he had a couple points, but his first game you could tell he was going to be good. And everyone says that Jack Hughes is better than Quinn. So huge pickup for the Devils. I think they'll put him on a line with last 2 years ago number one pick Nico Hischier. Um, those guys are going to run the league for a little bit.
So how do you, going back to this talk about, who plays with who, like you said, Skinner's points come from Eichel. So a guy like Panarin had led the Jackets in points and didn't have a Jack Eichel playing center. They had Pierre-Luc Dubois, a couple other guys in there. How do you value, especially come free agency, a guy like that? How much does it matter who he plays with? I guess is my question. Like, would Skinner have taken a hit if he was or if he went into free agency? Would he have taken a hit because his points came from playing with Eichel?
No, because he still put up the points, and there's other Eichel-like players in the league. It's more of a fit, a scheme fit. You've got to fit with the coach also. A good coach is going to put you with the guy that you know. So when you have when you're crafting a line, you want obviously the center. You want him to be able to move the puck because he's going to work the most with the defense, get it out of the zone. You want wingers who are fast and can get to the net to get that center who's just breaking out of the zone. The puck down the wing or to the net. When you've got a guy like Panarin, he's going to be the one that's got the puck, even though he might not. When you enter the zone, 90% of the time it's going to be Panarin with with the puck on his stick. So you want a guy in New York. Would have been perfect if you had Matt Zuccarello still. Unfortunately, he's in the Wild now. That was also a good pickup for them. It was a shame he got hurt for Dallas last year. But no, when you see the Rangers forwards, they're not great right now, which is another reason I'm a little shocked that Panarin picked them because, yeah, when you do look at it, they don't have the greatest, line mates for him. The thing about Artemi Panarin is you don't need the line mates because he is the line. So you're going to see Artemi Panarin essentially is the Jack Eichel. He'll play with it. They got a young guy, Philip Chytil. He's a stud. He's good. He put up some points. They can play with Chris Kreider. A couple guys that can make a play with Panarin. That's the good thing about Panarin. That's why they gave him all the money they did, is because he could play with anybody and make him better.
So one last guy I wanted to ask you about before we wrap up is Jake Gensel.
Yep.
So similar kind of question, but last year or this most recent year, he had 40 plus goals, one of the best goal scorers in the NHL. Year before, he was decent, but it all depended on whether he was on a line with Crosby. Is that a guy that's more dependent on a centerman, or could he play now that he's been in the league a few years? Could he handle his own line?
I think if you start Jake Gensel out on any other team or any other line, he does not become the player he is today. That being said, when you play with Sidney Crosby long enough, you become better without Sidney Crosby. You don't need to have him. He now knows, okay, where do I have to go? He's got, he's learned so much. I think last year they put him on a line with Phil Kessel at some point towards the end when the Penguins started to slide a little bit. They mixed up some lines, and I remember specifically Gensel played with Kessel. Obviously, playing with Phil Kessel is not a huge downstep from Sidney Crosby. He's still one of the top players in the game. But yeah, he doesn't need a guy like Gensel. You don't need any more. He's learned how to play the game in his own head and know where to go. He's become such a better stick handler and puck possessor that, yeah, if you put him with Sidney Crosby, he's going to score 40 to 50 goals a season. If you don't put him with Crosby, he's probably still getting 30 or 35. Depends on, he's still going to be a center line if you don't put him on a line with first or second line with Crosby or Malkin. You're wasting the talent. But yeah, if he goes to a different team in a few years when he's a free agent, he may not do as well. But at least he's earned his money now at this point. So you'll probably end up overpaying for him in the long run. But that's kind of the way the game's going. Is that guys like that who have played with the superstars and kind of reap the benefits of that. They see that in the paychecks later. Some teams end up overpaying for a couple of years, but it's worth it for the few years that they get their value.
Interesting. John, any other questions?
I got nothing. Do you have anything you see happening? Any last, you want to predict something big? If you'd one big prediction on what might happen next.
I think the New Jersey Devils, I touched on earlier. A couple predictions. The Devils are definitely going back to the playoffs. PK Subban, Jack Hughes. It's going to be up to their goalie. If what's his name? Corey Schneider can keep playing like Corey Schneider 2 years ago and not last year. Devils are back in the playoffs and they're going to be good. I think the Rangers are going to be pretty bad again. They've lost a couple players that they really shouldn't have, like Kevin Hayes and Matt Zuccarello. I don't know if you're really smart getting rid of those guys because it's kind of the core of your team. Now you're kind of left with a bunch of young guys and guys, Chris Kreider and Panarin is going to be your and Mika Zibanejad are going to be your main scorers. I don't think that's enough to get back to the playoffs. The one team that's going to be terrible, and I said it earlier, the Blue Jackets, they're just going to be awful. They're going to have nobody now. Dzingel isn't going to sign there now that everyone's gone. I'm sure he would have had even one or two of those guys stayed around. Edmonton's going to be pretty good this year. I'll give that to them. I think they've done some things in the offseason and in the draft that
All right.
past few drafts that they'll surprise. But Connor McDavid, you can't hold him out of the playoffs for too long. He's going to get his team where they need to go eventually.
Last question: who's going to be better, Sabres or Flyers?
Yeah. That's like battle of ninth and 10th. I don't think either of them are gonna make the playoffs. But they're gonna be too high up to get a good draft pick. If I had to take a guess, it's gonna be the Sabres, though.
Wow.
I've given up with the Flyers. I've just assumed that they're forever going to be in that 9th or 10th seed.
All right.
Man, it's the life we live.
Well, Chad, Sam, this was good. Look for some more NHL talk at a later date to be announced at a later time. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
And
fellas.
Absolutely. Sam Reedy coming to us. Chad, we're going to ride off into the sunset. Have a great week, everyone. I'm unemployed for a little bit here.
Alyssa, I love you. Bye.